When moving to Alaska, the Alcan Highway remains one of the best options for most people because it's cheaper, it's a lot cheaper, and you can get here to Alaska in a little bit more time. You have a little bit more, I guess, control, you could say, over the process for moving your stuff up here as opposed to just having a moving company do it for you. But there's definitely some downsides to it. And today we're going to be talking about the top reasons why you should not drive the Alcan Highway. My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska with Keller Williams, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family. And today we're going to be talking all about the Alcan Highway, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, the first reason that you shouldn't use the Alcan Highway to move all your stuff here to Alaska is that Canada still has quite a few restrictions as it pertains to COVID. So this might be an issue for you. It might not. Last time I checked, they were still requiring you to be vaccinated before they would even let you into the country, just to be driving from point A to point B without even stopping anywhere. And this is still, depending on who you are, this may or may not be a big deal. So I will let you decide if that's going to be a big deal or you do not. Some people it is, some people they do not care. So just know who you are. And make sure you're watching all the up-to-date information on what it is they're requiring getting through, because it was a moving target there for quite a while, and I'm not sure if it's really gotten better since then. So yes, make sure you're paying attention to COVID protocol. Now, another reason you shouldn't use the Alcan Highway is because a lot of the gas stations you see on the maps when you're moving up here at certain times of the years are not going to actually be open. So from a logistical standpoint, it's going to be a lot easier just to put your stuff on a ferry or get a moving company to take care of it for you. Then it's going to be for you to try to figure out which gas stations or which hotels are actually open or not. So, this is something you could definitely figure out with a couple of phone calls, but, just don't expect everything just because it's on a map and it says it's open doesn't mean it's necessarily open, especially in the winter months. So make sure you're paying attention to that. You can also find some sketchier gas stations on the Alcan. I know I did a time or two where it was obvious that the gas station was actually mixing water in with the gas to try to pad their bottom line just a little bit more. Car did not like that, and it wasn't catastrophic, but it certainly wasn't good. So yeah, that's another reason to try to avoid the Alcan if you can. Now, the third reason that you shouldn't drive the Alcan, or you should at least consider not driving the Alcan, is that if you break down out there, you're pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and there are going to be no cheap options for getting your car repaired. So, if you have a flat tire, if something breaks on your rig, and if you don't have a spare part, it's going to be a little problematic trying to get that sorted out, because they do have towns, they do have services along the way, but they all know you've got no options, and pricing is going to be a little bit higher than what it normally would be, and it's really going to slow everything down, because you have to drive like another 30 minutes back, or you have to send someone 30 minutes back to go get help. Then that's definitely going to be problematic. And if you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's a good chance you're not going to have cell reception anyway. So yeah, that's another big reason you should at least be aware of what some of the negatives are of driving the Alcan. Now, let's go and take a break real quick. For those of you who are considering moving up here, I do have a relocation guide that answers a lot of your basic questions about moving up here. To get a copy of that, do go to my website, just register, and then put relocation guide in the comments section so I know what to send you. Also, I do host the Alaskan Journey podcast, and I interview people who have recently moved up here, including a lot of people who have recently driven up on the Alcan, and that's where I get a lot of this information directly from people who have recently done this. So do make sure you go check out those podcasts. Link for that is going to be in the description section down below. One of the big negatives of driving on the Alcan is that the roads are not always 100% smooth or the easiest things to drive on. So there are certain sections of it where it is just going to look like you're driving on the surface of the moon. There's going to be a lot of bumping, and it's going to be very desolate out there. So you have to make sure you really slow down and take your time getting through those areas. If you're just blasting through this area with all those bunny hills at 70 miles an hour, then yeah, you're going to have a blowout, and honestly, that's probably more your fault than anyone else's at that point. So slow down, okay? Just understand there's going to be certain sections of the road that are not going to be great, and that's just going to have to be a negative. getting stuff over the border can definitely be another big challenge if you're trying to use the Alcan highway. The border, the Border Patrol, Border Protection, Border Services, whatever their specific name is for Canada, can be, it's not their job to roll out the red carpet. They're not welcoming tourists. They're welcoming people who are going through their country with, trailers and a lot of stuff that can be a little problematic for them. So you can understand how they're not necessarily going to be the most friendly people in the world. I will say though, for some people, I feel like they've gone a little too far in some instances where they find out that, oh, you owned a firearm at some point, like 10 years ago. Okay, we're going to need to see everything in the truck now. And it's just stuff like that where it's like, have you guys lost your minds? Where it just holds everything up for a couple of hours. You have to have, the people go through the trailer and look at everything, and they're respectful. They're not just throwing stuff out there and breaking stuff, but it is a delay, and it does get a little old and it does get a little cumbersome because beneath all of that is just this perception that, oh, Americans are dangerous, they've got firearms, and they're going to go shoot it up in our country. And, most people are driving the Alcan, they just want to get to their new home over in Alaska. They're not really interested in causing trouble in Canada. So, yes, that does get a little annoying. Not the worst thing in the world. Have your ducks in a row. Know what it is that you're doing. If you do have any firearms or anything like that, make sure that you declare them. And make sure that you really itemize everything in your vehicle that you're bringing with you. And if you have it down to the point where you can have a spreadsheet right there and say, okay, I've got this item in this box, this item in this box, blah, 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 then that I've seen is actually done quite a bit, and they just kind of wave you right through because they know that, you're on top of all your stuff. So make sure that you're really respectful. It is their country after all. It's their rules. Telling you it's annoying, but I am also telling you it's their country, so it's their rules. So make sure you're respectful of that, and it's going to go a lot better. But yes, just make sure you've very itemized and you've followed all the rules to a T, and you can almost quote it back to them. You do that, it's going to go a lot easier. They're not monsters, they're doing their job, but that doesn't make it any less inconvenient. Now, the last reason for why you shouldn't use the Alcan highway is that all your stuff is going to be pretty rattled by the time that you get to where you're going. So, depending on how well you packed the trailer, then this may or may not be an issue, but keep in mind by the time you do get your stuff, it's going to be pretty rattled around, and if you have a lot of fragile stuff, that could be a big problem. So whether it's you or whether it's somebody else bringing it up here, that is just something you're going to have to accept. If you want the smoothest ride possible, probably putting it on the ferry is going to be your best option. Well, this is going to be your list of the top reasons why you should not drive the Alcan highway. This is not an exhaustive list, but it does give you a pretty good idea for some of the negatives of driving the Alcan highway. It's a great option for a lot of people. I know I sound pretty negative talking about it in this video, but really it is a great option for a lot of people because it's less expensive as long as you're on top of your stuff. The border security is usually pretty easy to work with, and the drive is going to be absolutely beautiful. So by and large, it's a good option. I've done it quite a few times, I think 3 or 4 times actually, if I recall correctly, either for myself or for other people. So it definitely is a great option, but you just have to be aware of what the negatives are going into it. And if these are just, negatives you can't deal with, you might consider just using the ferry or selling most of your stuff and getting on a plane, or just having a moving company do it for you. But I sure hope this has been useful for you. If it has, give this video a like, and we'll see you next time.